welcome to today's episode of the Balanced Approach podcast. I'm your host, Louis Padian. I hope that you're doing well and are enjoying the podcast and the topics we've covered so far. These podcasts are released every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, so be sure to subscribe wherever you are listening to be kept up to date. So today we hope to build on last week's episode, and by the end of this episode you to have a pretty good idea of a beginner's gym plan. Now, if you're listening to this and you're an expert strength conditioning or something like that, you might think, oh, there's certain things. Yes, I understand. This might not be the perfect plan for everyone, but I want people who are listening to this not to be scared to go to the gym. And if you've been shown around how to use machines, not too sure how to put it all together, then this is the episode for you. And if anything that I'm not covered, or not sure how to do any exercises, or unsure of what I mean by when I suggest, I don't know, like a lat pull down or any sort of exercise I mentioned, then just DM me on social media at Louis Padian Nutrition, and I will either do a video demo or do a post on it, something like that, because there's loads of different movements and there's different names for the same movement as well. So I don't want people getting confused or feeling overwhelmed, and when really I'm just a message away and I can show you how to do it or send you a link of a video of how to do it. So the reason that I wanted to do this is because often when I worked in the gym, people were just meandering around a gym. You might see them doing the same exercises, not really having any intensity or seeing any progression, and then they might just drift away from the gym because they're not seeing the results that they feel that they deserve. When realistically, they might not have a plan that they're sticking to, and they might not have been shown how to put it all together and emphasize the important things of training your same muscles a couple of times a week, hitting those muscles with intensity and looking for progression, whether that's increasing the amount of reps you're doing, decreasing the amount of rest, increasing the amount of weight that you're lifting, and looking at the total volume across the session. So those are the sort of things that we're striving for. So yes, it might seem really difficult to start with, and we'll talk about recovery and things like that, but it will get easier and you will get stronger if you're consistent with this. And often the ones that you see on social media where people are like, this is the perfect work exercise routine to burn calories around your midsection or grow your glutes and things like that. And often they'll overcomplicate things, when actually what we need to do is do a similar plan most weeks, have a slight variation in there, but keep the consistency across the different movement patterns and aim to progress and get consistent, because a big part of lifting weights in the gym or resistance training is actually developing the skill of doing that movement. So if you're doing squats, yes, there's lots of different variations of squat movements, but realistically, if you want to get better at squats, you're going to have to squat more often. The more often you squat, the more comfortable you get, the more familiar you get with your setup, and the more that your body gets better at coordination. And a big part of the initial couple of weeks where you get really, really good gains with lifts and certain exercises is you getting more familiar. Just like when you do any new skill, get a really good learning curve to start with, and then it's about developing the muscles, getting them strong, getting them bigger, getting them be able to handle more load more often, and building on that as we go. So when we talk about it, the frequency and focus of these sessions, as a beginner, maybe hitting each muscle group. When we talk about different muscle groups, we might talk about our quads as a muscle group, our hamstrings as a muscle group, our chest as a muscle group, our back as a muscle group, arms, all these different muscle groups, aim to hit them 2 to 3 times per week. I know that might not be feasible for some people, where they're maybe limited to 2 sessions per week, and that's completely fine. What we're looking to do is hit a certain amount of volume in those sessions. What I mean by volume is reps and sets, to get a stimulus where we're just pushing it past where it currently is comfortable, and then it sort of breaks down the muscle tissue, and then we have a couple of days recovery, maybe 1 to 3 depending on how sore we are, and that should decrease over time. And then we train it again, and what happens is the muscle sort of breaks down and builds back a bit stronger, and we're trying to make the most of it, and then we have to break it down and build it back a bit stronger again. And that's what happened over the course of weeks, months, years. So there's 2 different structures I'm going to go through, so it might be worth grabbing a pen and paper if you're listening to this, or leave a note to re-listen to this when you've got a pen and paper. And that is 2 times per week if you're going to the gym, and 3 times per week. So there's different ways that people might do 2 times per week. There might be 2 full body sessions per week, which we've got here, or they might do an upper and a lower, and that might not be as optimal if we're looking for better gains, because we would be able to, so if we hit legs on a Monday, for example, and we're not training again until Thursday, and that's when we do upper body, realistically, we could probably train our legs again and get some more stimulus, rather than just sort of waiting a whole week until we train them again. So actually, it might be better to do more intensity in those sessions and get
2 times per week and do 2 full body sessions, because your body will recover and then you'll probably see better progress. The other layout was 3 times per week, which is a common one as well. And this one could be 3 full body sessions per week where we do all the muscle groups. It could be an upper body session, a lower body session, a total body session, or a common one that we do is push, pull, legs, which is the session that we sort of outlined here. But when we get through, you'll probably see there's a pattern to the way that I sort of build these sessions in. And often when I'm working with a client, advising someone in the gym, we'll start with a loose framework that we're doing initially, and this might be sort of a very general one, and get more specific as we work together, because there might be certain exercises that they feel better or more confident doing. They might not have certain equipment available all the time. That's completely fine, and finding a way to work around that. Or they might have certain injuries or injury history, and we might have to develop a way to work around that to ensure that people are feeling confident. Safe is the most important thing in the gym, and comfortable enough to really push themselves, because what we don't want is people feeling unsure, unsafe, unstable, and then 1, they're not likely to keep pushing themselves, but 2, they're probably more likely to get injured. So at the start of every session, and this is probably something that I skipped over as a coach when I was younger and naively, and it's probably come back to bite me in the bum massively, is a warm-up. And I used to sort of just skip these and get straight into my session. I saw them a bit of a waste of time, when now, especially with my running and my injuries, I've really got to focus on spending 5, 10, maybe even 20 minutes warming up before my sessions and sort of feeling my way into it. And that will probably involve getting some light cardiovascular work in there to get the heart rate up a little bit, dynamic stretches, which are sort of stretching joints in a movement pattern rather than just holding them. So if we're looking at stretching hamstrings, for example, we wouldn't just bend over and feel the stretch of the back of our leg and hold it there. We'd probably do some leg swings, so we're swinging our legs back and forwards, and start a bit more lower intensity and start to increase the intensity in the range of motion. Sorry, it's got caught between movement and motion now, which comes up with motion. Start to increase the range of motion as we start to get into the exercise, and that will start to develop the elasticity of the muscle. So things like arm circles you might have done leg swings, you might have done sort of high knees or skips, those sort of things get the blood flowing and prepare your muscles for movement. Another way to do this, if you're just getting straight into weights, is just start off with a really easy or lighter version of the exercise that you're doing. So if you're going in doing squats or bench press, you might go right, instead of putting weight on the bar, I might just put my hands on my head and do some really slow squats, bodyweight squats, and then they might get a bit quicker. They might add a bit of more movement in there. There might be some lunges in there, getting the body used to those movement patterns, getting the muscles working and focusing on that, and then slowly increase the amount of load and intensity towards where you want to start your session. So you might hold some small weights initially, and you might have a slightly heavier weight until you get to the weight that you're right, I'm about ready to start my session now. If you're doing bench press, same again, you might start with some sort of wall presses and then maybe some press ups and things, doing nice and slow, giving yourself ample rest in between, and then slowly increasing the weight on the bar, starting off a bit lighter, getting a bit more reps in, seeing how you feel, and then starting your session. This gives you a chance to sort of 1, warm up, but 2, if you've got any worries or concerns, or might give you a chance to just work through these movement patterns. If there's any sort of aches or pains or something doesn't feel quite right, then it's better to see it now than when you've probably got more weight on the bar where it's more likely to get injured. So warm-ups are essential. I'd highly recommend them. I haven't always done them, and it's come back to bite me in the bum a fair few times. Not all the time, but as you get older, you're probably more likely to get a bit in the bum with them. So definitely something that I'd recommend, at least 5, 10, 20 minutes of your session towards a warm-up. So the actual workout plan. So we'll quickly whiz through the 2 times per week. So the last session we talked about the 6 sort of movement patterns, and the session will follow that. If we're doing a full body, we'll probably hit each movement pattern. We might have our main exercises towards the start of the session when we're feeling more fresh, where we're not as fatigued from the session as we move through it, and we've done more and more weights or movements. We'll start to feel more fatigued, muscles will start to sort of feel a burn a little bit, so we'll probably do more of the harder work to start with, and then decrease the load that we're doing but increase the reps we're doing later on in the session. So I'll probably start with something like a squat movement. If you want to put legs first, you can start upper body first, but this is probably the way that I would do it. Probably start with squats of some variations. That might be a lunge, it might be a barbell squat, it might be a leg press, those sort of squat patterns, and probably doing a bit heavier, so 3 to 4 sets of 5 to 8 reps, working through those, trying to work to a higher intensity where not full fatigue but near fatigue, and getting to know where your limits are is really important on these. So 3 to 4 sets of 5 to 8 reps. Then I'd move into a push movement. So this could be something like a bench press, could be a chest press on the machine, it could be dips, could be a shoulder press overhead. So this would incorporate your push movement, and that works your chest, your shoulders and your triceps. And I'd probably do, again, 3 to 4 sets of 5 to 8 reps. So we've hit 2 fairly heavy movements because we're only doing 5 to 8 reps, doing 3 to 4 sets, we're quite fatiguing on a lower body movement. After that, we probably do more reps, but less weight on those movements, and we might swap them around for the next session just to sort of add that variation of what we don't want to do is do squats and our bench press first all the time, because we're probably going to see a lot of progression in those areas. But at the time we move on to our hinge, which is our next movement, and our pull movement, we're probably quite fatigued, and also we're doing less weight and more reps. That might not develop in a way that we want. So actually rotating through the variations just means that your first movement when you're probably freshest versus your fourth movement when you're quite fatigued, you might get better results and you get more even spread of gains across those areas, rather than just having squats always first and then into a push, because again, your third and fourth movement, if it's a hinge and a pull, they might suffer a lot more. So like I said, third up, hinge movements, so something like a deadlift or a hip thrust, kettlebell swing. Again, 3 to 4 sets, but then we're bumping it up to sort of 10 to 15 reps. So working in a different rep range and just give a different stimulus to those muscle groups. And then a pull movement, which would be sort of maybe a dumbbell row, machine row, pull down, seated pull. Again, targeting your back and biceps, 3 to 4 sets of 10 to 15 reps. Then we work on our core. Sometimes we put this last, but often what we tend to find is that if you put it last, people tend to skip it. So trying to bump up the things that are really important, like core stability, maybe having something like a plank or a sit-up in there, 3 sets of 30 to 60 seconds work with a bit of rest in between. And then last of all, some isometric work. So what I'd do if I was training twice a week, I'd probably have full body on both days, but then the isometric work would be split into lower and upper. So my lower body session, my first full body session of the week, do all the movements, get to the isometric work, and then do 1 to 3 leg exercises. Maybe superset them, or have a tri-set of leg extensions, leg curls, some calf variation like a seated calf raise, and again 3 sets of 10 to 15 reps. Quite a lot there, but that's to try and kind of downfall. I'm probably in training twice a week. Again, you might only be able to get through, we might only have 45 minutes a week, and we'd probably shorten this session. But this is sort of ensuring that you're hitting all the muscle groups twice a week, getting a good amount of stimulus in there, and hopefully going to see some good gains over the next couple of weeks and months. Day 2, we'd start with maybe hinge movement first. So again, some variation of the deadlift. So if you've done a normal deadlift or a hip thrust on the first one, you might do a sort of single leg deadlift maybe, or a B stance deadlift, just to add some variation in the movement in there. I tend to sort of vary either like a normal squat one session, and then the next session we'll have a squat variation that might be a single leg, or something that is a bit slightly different. So maybe a lunge in there, maybe a single leg press, just so we're working each individual limb in upper and lower body sessions, but also getting the benefits of having them both working together and getting some really good strength gains in there as well. So I might do a single leg deadlift, again, 3 to 4 sets of 5 to 8 reps. Then we might do a pull movement next, so bumping that up. So it was that fourth last one, so now it's second, so we should be quite fresh for this one. Again, what I do on the upper body movements is, if I'm focusing on a vertical pull, like a lat pull down on my first session, my second session, maybe I'd focus on a horizontal pull, like a dumbbell row or a cable row, just so we're getting those slightly different movement patterns, still working back and biceps, but working slightly differently and getting a bit of a different focus in there as well. Again, 3 to 4 sets, 5 to 8 reps. Then we move on to a squat pattern. So again, if we've done barbell squats or a leg press, we might do lunges or a single leg press, or step ups are another good example of a squat movement. Again, 3 to 4 sets of 10 to 15 reps. This is where we're sort of getting into the high rep stuff, followed by a push movement where we start maybe a barbell bench press, dumbbell bench press. Floor press is another common one, using dips or assisted dips, maybe a shoulder press sort of variation, working the shoulders, working the triceps, working the chest. Again, 3 to 4 sets, 10 to 15 reps. Then core stability. So maybe on the first session we might have done plank, which is sort of an isometric hold where we're just focusing on really staying strong through that movement. The next session we might add some form of twist in there, or working our obliques a bit more. So we might do a side plank, we might do a Russian twist, we might do sit-ups, we might do leg raises. Lots of different things that we can do. Obviously there's heaps of exercise we can do, but again, the importance of having that variation. So if you're having an isometric hold one session on your core, maybe working your obliques on the next one, maybe doing some side crunches, maybe doing some leg raises there and focusing on those lower abs and bringing the legs up. And again, three sets of 30 to 60 seconds rest, looking to increase the amount of work that we're doing or decreasing the rest in between sets as we progress. And like I said, so the first session, isometric stuff at the end, 1 to 3 leg exercises. So we focus on the lower body, sort of isometric side. This day 2, we do isometrics and maybe do upper body. So we might do something like a lateral raise, might do your biceps, triceps, might do a reverse fly or a face pull. And again, 3 sets of 10 to 15 reps. So I know I've covered quite a lot there, but that's why I said it's important. If you just write them down, really good structure to work with. And as I've said, working on trying to increase the amount of reps and sets we're doing each week, week on week. Doesn't matter if they're plateau for 1 or 2 weeks, but trying to do that across maybe 6 to 8 weeks, trying to get that steady increase. Having a look increasing the amount of reps we're doing, sets we're doing if possible. Increasing the amount of weight that we're lifting or making the variation exercise a bit harder. So if you start on kneeling press-ups, for example, yes, you might get some really good reps and sets in there, but at some point you might want to step up to a full body press-up, which again doesn't look like you're going to do as many reps and sets, but the amount of load you're lifting is going to be a lot harder and a lot more difficult. So thinking about things like that, thinking about more difficult exercises as we go on. So that's your 2-day program, 2 times full body per week. A really good structure to work from and really good to progress on with as well. Obviously we might throw in stuff like cardiovascular work depending on your goals, but if we're just looking at resistance training, I think that's a really good structure to work on there. Again, the stuff that we can either superset, we can cut stuff down, but that's sort of a well-rounded program that I'd see there. We'll quickly whiz through again. With these, we might only focus on one exercise, having the lower reps but more trying to lift more weight, and that'll be the first exercise. And then the following exercises we might sort of drop the amount, increase the amount of reps, drop the weight a little bit, just to add a bit more stimulus in there. So the first 2 exercises on each day this week, we're doing 3 to 4 sets of 5 to 8 reps. So push, pull, legs. So push, we might have a horizontal push, so something like a bench press, 3 to 4 sets of 5 to 8 reps. And then we might follow it with a vertical push, so something like a dumbbell shoulder press again, swapping from a barbell bench press where it's quite stable, get a lot more weight on it, to a dumbbell shoulder press. Again, dumbbells, we've got to have a bit more stability in there through our shoulders, and we might for 6 weeks might keep those 2 the same, and then the next cycle we might have a dumbbell bench press and a barbell shoulder press or something like that, or trap bar shoulder press or a seated shoulder press on a machine. So having different variations in there adds a slightly different stimulus and allows us to work and get more rounded through these exercises. So again, vertical press, dumbbell shoulder press, 3 to 4 sets of 5 to 8 reps. Then we follow it with some shoulders and maybe some flies, like a lateral raise, 3 to 4 sets of 10 to 15 reps. Then finish off with some triceps, 3 to 4 sets of 10 to 15 reps, maybe a rope extension on there, and then some core stuff, maybe like a plank for 3 sets of 60 seconds. A lot quicker because we're spreading the amount of exercise that we're doing across 3 days from 2 to 3. So probably a shorter session in there. So we've only got 5 exercises, we can bounce between them quite quickly. Might be done within this like 45 minutes. The other one might be pushing an hour. Again, that might not suit everyone, but just a general rule so you can understand how to sort of put a program together. This can be really useful. So that's the push day. Pull day, you might start with a horizontal single arm row, for example, where you're on the bench, got a knee on the bench and you're pulling a dumbbell up. 3 to 4 sets of 5 to 8 reps. Then we go into a vertical pull, maybe like a lat pull down, 3 to 4 sets of 5 to 8 reps again. So really, really heavy to start with. And then we might focus on reverse flies or a face pull to work the back of the shoulders and the biceps again. 3 to 4 sets of 10 to 15 reps. Then some biceps, maybe some rope curls or some underhand curls, some dumbbell curls, some preacher curls. So many bicep exercises for one muscle group. But already, if you think about that, you've done a single arm row, a lat pull down, maybe a reverse fly, your biceps are working quite hard in those sessions or in those exercises already. So if you've done 4 sets on each of those, you've already done 12 sets. So you might not need to do any biceps. You might want to top them up a little bit, but they've already got quite a lot of fatigue potential by this point. So you might not be able to do a huge amount of weight. And that's why dropping the weight, 10 to 15 reps, really getting that fatigue in there and really pushing it as much as we can. So whatever bicep curl you want to work with, crack on. And then core, as we've done plank, the first one, that isometric hold, we're doing some sort of crunch variation or a leg raise. So 3 sets of 15 to 20 reps, looking to increase the amount there that we're doing, reducing the rest potentially as well to make it a bit harder week on week. Last session of the week, we've got our legs. So this, we've got squats, 3 squat variation, which I've picked lunges, 3 to 4 sets of 5 to 8 reps. Again, adding some weight in there, maybe a bag on the shoulders, holding some dumbbells, having a barbell. Might be a split squat. You might do a Bulgarian split squat. You might do a single leg press. There's lots of different variations, but I picked lunges for this one. Then we follow it with a hinge. So depending, if we pick lunge for the first one, I might pick like a double leg movement for the second one, which would be a deadlift. So standard conventional deadlift, it might be a sumo deadlift. Again, 3 to 4 sets of 5 to 8 reps. Those probably get to quite a lot of load to those exercises and quite a lot of weight that you're even just holding. If you've got your barbell on a deadlift, if you've got dumbbells or a barbell on lunges, so you're probably quite fatigued at this point. So just being aware of that and managing that fatigue, that you're not pushing yourself too hard too soon and getting used to the exercises, reps and sets. Then to finish it off, we'll have some leg extensions. Might do single leg extensions, so 3 to 4 sets of 10 to 15 reps on each leg. Then we might do Swiss ball hamstring curls, or a lying down hamstring curl, or a seated hamstring curl. 3 to 4 sets of 10 to 15 reps. Again, just working the front and back of our legs. Then we've got our calves. Last but not least, you might do a seated calf raise, you might do single leg seated calf raise, and depending on what machinery you've got available, you might do a standing barbell, you might do just on a plate, working at a deficit as well. So 3 to 4 sets of 10 to 15 reps on that. And then core, because we've done isometric hold, we've done sort of like crunch variation with a leg raise. Then we might do a side plank for an isometric, but on our obliques, so 3 sets of 45 seconds on each side. I know I've whizzed through that again, but again, just really good. If you want to listen back to it, write it down, think about the progression as you go. It's a really, really useful structure to start with, and then you can personalize it from there and think about all the different variations you've got there. Again, if you're not too sure or you want some variations, just drop me a DM, message me. That's what I'm here for, and I'm sure I can find something for you. Of course, what I don't want you to do is absolutely have an amazing session and then go sit down in your car 10 minutes, go home, have a shower and sit on the sofa. What's important to do there is to cool down, bring your heart rate down, make sure you get some stretch in there if anything feels tight, ensure that you're feeling good, fresh, give yourself time to like mentally switch off and get a feel for how you're feeling, and just, ensure that you're getting the most from these sessions as well. After that, we don't want to neglect everything else around it as well. There's so many important things. Sleep, obviously, one of the things that I hammer home, and I think it's so important. If your sleep's rubbish, you won't be getting the gains there. You won't feel motivated. You probably won't have the energy. You're probably more likely to get injured. Pretty sure that the research suggests that. Ensuring that we're fueling ourselves before these sessions, making sure that we're getting enough protein in our diet, hydration, all into plays. And if those things aren't in the right place, then gym sessions are going to be a lot harder than they need to be. Plus, you won't see the progress that you'll probably putting the effort in for. So making sure that everything else is getting ticked off as well. It's not just one thing you need to focus on. It's just getting a little bit better across all these areas. So just to finish that off, if I was doing a 3-day split, I'd probably do day on, day off, day on, day off, day on, and having a day off then, and sort of working that way. If you're doing 2 days, you might have maybe go on Tuesday and a Friday, give yourself ample rest in between. If it is that you're new to the gym and you're not too sure on how often to go, just start with 2 days. If you're feeling fresh in between them, then think about picking up the intensity potentially in those sessions, but maybe introducing a 3rd day as well and adjusting it that way. What we don't want to do is start off with a 5-day-a-week program, absolutely batter ourselves and not recover between sessions, because whilst the actual resistance training is important, the recovery element in between actually gives our body a chance to adapt and grow, get stronger, better, fitter. That's just as important. And if we're not giving ourselves enough time to recover, if we're not giving ourselves enough fuel with food to recover, if we're not giving ourselves enough sort of sleep to recover, then it's going to really impact our bodies, how our body's feeling when we turn up to these sessions. The aim isn't to get really sore. The aim is to get fit, strong, mobile, and just feel good day to day. So don't feel like you have to turn up to the gym and feel absolutely battered. That's not what we want. Some people do want that, but that's not the point of it. The point is to get you feeling stronger, get you feeling healthier, get you feeling fitter, more mobile, more flexible, and more capable day to day. That actually the gym session isn't about just improving the gym. It's about making day-to-day life a bit harder. So if you think about squat, it's fantastic getting more weight on the barbell or being able to do a more difficult squat, but actually a big part of it is being able to get up off a seat on the sofa a bit easier, or be able to lower yourself down to the seat rather than just flop down and putting all the weight through the seat. If you're doing a deadlift, it's not about getting more weight on the bar, but that is a fantastic part, but actually it's about being able to pick stuff off the floor without worry or concern about it being too heavy in your back going. So all these different things, thinking about how they apply to life. A shoulder press, putting something heavy on the top shelf on top of the cupboards, thinking about bench press, about getting up off the floor or getting out of bed in the morning, pushing ourselves up. And this is just about making day-to-day life and your quality of life a lot better. We know resistance training is super important as we get old and get older. So what we don't want to do is to neglect it or just put it in a box of going, well, that's ticked off and the aim is just get fitter and stronger in the gym. Actually, the whole point of it is to holistically improve our quality of life.
So there you have it. Thank you very much for listening to today's episode of the Balanced Approach podcast. If you have any questions, queries, or would like to reach out to me, please do. I am at Louis Padian Nutrition, which is at LOUISPADIAN Nutrition on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and all other social media platforms. If you're looking for support in achieving your goals and living a healthier, happier, and more balanced life in the process, click the link below and inquire about working with me. Remember to subscribe to the Balanced Approach podcast wherever you're listening for more insightful episodes, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.